Hey guys, and happy Friday. So for my first DIY, guys, this is my favorite DIY of the day for sure. You're gonna need two of these metal galvanized, I don't know, vases, planters from the Dollar Tree or anything, similar that you might have on hand. And what you're gonna do with one of them is you're just gonna kind of outline an angle the top, like to the top of a pitcher or a vase. However you want to angle it, you can do it straight across if you want to. I wanted it to look more like a pitcher, so I went ahead and gave it a little bit of an angle there. And then very carefully, you're going to take a box cutter or anything sharp that you have, and you're going to cut a little bit of a hole so that you can fit some scissors in there. And you can also just use like a screwdriver, kind of hammer it in. There's different ways to do this. I found this to be the easiest for me. And these scissors are actually from Harbor Freight. I love them. They cut through just about anything. And I mean, I've had them forever. I have about 3 or 4 pairs of them, and I just use them all the time. So anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the scissors and you are just going to cut along the line. Now you're going to cut a little bit above the mark that you made, just because you're going to have to fix this so that it's not sharp. So you're going to go ahead, cut the whole thing around, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, even all the way around. It can be a little bit imperfect. That's fine. I mean, mine turned out pretty even. I'm not going to say it was perfect, but like I said, I love the way that it turned out. So then once you're done cutting it, that's obviously going to be really sharp. So then you're just going to take some pliers and you're going to bend over, like bend the tops down and in, if that makes sense. You can see what I'm doing here. And you're just going to do that all the way around. And after you're done kind of folding it in there, then you're going to take the pliers and you're going to flatten it out. And you see there's like some sharp edges there. There's some pieces sticking out. You just want to get rid of all of that. You just go, like I said, you're going to go all the way around, bend it in like you see me doing here. And then you're going to use those same pliers and you are going to flatten it out. And what I mean by flatten is, you see how I'm just going to take that bottom, like the widest part of the pliers, I'm going to take it and I'm going to flatten all those pieces down so that it gets as smooth as possible. It's not going to be, completely perfect, but it's galvanized and I'm telling you, it's going to look great. So then you're going to take the other vase, you're going to turn it upside down. And actually, we're going to move on to a different part first. But we're going to use these stickers from the Dollar Tree. And Nicole over at the Week's Nest, she uses these things for so many different projects. I mean, she's used them so many times. And this is the first time that I believe I'm using them. And I see now why she loves them. But I'll link her channel down in the description box in case you haven't seen any of her DIYs. But like I said, she uses these for so many different things. So what you're going to do next is you're going to get your, what I call a galvanizing palette together. Basically, it is white paint, black paint, silver paint, and usually I use pewter gray, but I'm out of my pewter gray. So I'm just using like a dark gray that I think it's, I don't know if it's, what kind is that paint? I don't know if it's apple barrel or not, but anyway, it's a dark gray. And this silver is from Dollar General. Yeah, it's I think it's Craft Smart and it's dark gray, but usually I use pewter gray, and that pewter gray is like perfect for galvanizing. And this is the palette that I always use, the same colors all the time, and I love it. So it works out great. Then when I'm galvanizing, I use a makeup sponge because it works the best. So I start off with the white, and I'm just going to cover up all the little stickers with white. And then I'm going to move on to my gray. And you're just going to build up. So you're going to do a layer of the white and then a layer of a gray. And you're not going to paint it on there. You're just going to kind of I guess pounce it on there. I don't know what you want to call it, but you're just going to put the gray, let that dry, and then you're going to go in with the black. And again, just put a quick, layer over it. You don't want it to be a solid layer. You just want it to, you want to get that color in there, but you don't want it to be completely solid. And then you're going to take your silver and do the same thing. And again, in between these coats, make sure you let the paint dry so that it doesn't poke through. I mean, so that you can get the full color of it. I didn't mean poke through. So then once you're done putting those together, you can touch it up if the color isn't just right. All the colors aren't the same, so you can just adjust it to match whatever metal you're doing. So then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a heart with these little stickers. And I'm actually doing like an inspired by piece. It's not going to be exactly, so it's not a dupe, but I'll show you a picture of what I was using as inspiration at the end of the DIY. And let me know if you think, I did a good job of, like I said, it's not a dupe, but it's an, inspired by piece. So, and you can do whatever shape you want. It doesn't have to be a heart. You don't have to put it in any shape. You can just kind of do whatever you want to do with them. But I went ahead and made a heart because I like hearts and I like the way the inspired piece looked. And then I'm going to take the same stickers and I'm going to put them around that top edge or top lip of the vase there. And the inspired by piece didn't have that jute twine, but I kind of like the jute twine. That's why I left it on there. The inspired piece was just all galvanized, and then it had the little pieces, hearts or little dots along the bottom also. So then once I'm done doing that, I have I have a pack of these huge zip ties. I think I got them at like Menards or something like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and measure it out, and I'm going to cut the edges off. And then I'm going to galvanize this. And again, I'm going to use the same method. I'm going to go through, I'm going to skip the white because it's already white. So I started with black, then I went to gray, then I did silver, and then I did a little bit of the white and kind of messed around with it a little bit afterwards to get the color just right. So you can go back in with the white and the silver, just like I said, adjust it so that it matches your piece. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take that piece that you cut in half and you are going to glue it to the top. Now, initially I was going to use these tumbling tower blocks to kind of hold it together so that I didn't glue the edges and then there was glue sticking all out. But the tumbling tower blocks were just a little bit too wide or too thick. And when I glued it on there, you could see a gap, and I didn't want that gap in there. And I guess when I measured it, I pushed it down so it I didn't see the gap there. But then once I was done, you can see that there's a gap there, and I just didn't like the way that gap looked. So I ended up taking it apart, and then I ended up using just some painter sticks that I had cut up. Now this Gorilla Glue is really, really good. So you'll see here in a minute how good it is. So I just went ahead and I just took my heat gun, kind of melted some of that glue up so that I could pull those tumbling tower blocks off. Once I got those off, I noticed that there was a piece of wood still stuck on the bottom. You'll see here in a second, but these are just two like scrap pieces of painter sticks that I had left over, and I put two of them together and it was just the right size. And then here I'm noticing that it's not fitting right, and it's because a piece of the tumbling tower block came off because of the glue. So I just went ahead, heated that up, took it off with my little spatula there, and it worked out great. There was still some glue left over that kind of messed with how it was sitting on there also. So I cleaned all that off of that top piece so that it was even. And once I was done doing that, I just went ahead, hot glued it all on there. I couldn't figure out like why it wasn't sitting straight on there. And then once I looked at the bottom of this one, I noticed that there was like pieces of glue still stuck on there. So I went ahead and I got those off of there so that it would lay flat, because it just wasn't laying right. And like I said, I couldn't figure out why, because I had already pulled the sticks out. Anyway, I'm babbling, but I went ahead and I took that glue off, and then it worked out fine. I went ahead, glued it, and I made sure that the two parts where the seam is on the side matched up, so that the seam was all, it went like from the top to the bottom, excuse me, on the side of the canister. And I did just put some glue along the edges on the inside just to kind of add a little bit extra. Not necessary, because the little wood paint sticks held it together fine. And see, now there's no gap there, and that's how I wanted it to look. So then what I'm going to do is go ahead and glue my my handle on. And because it's plastic, it bends, it's really flexible, but I didn't want it to pop off, so I went ahead, I bent it up a little bit, and then I took one of those little clips from the Dollar Tree they're from the Crafter Square section. Once I put the glue on there, I took the clip, I clipped it on there, and then worked on the bottom half. And by the time I was done gluing the bottom half in, the top was already dry. I just didn't want it to move when I did the bottom part of it. So then I just went ahead, glued the bottom part on there, and that was all I did to this one, guys. It was so cute. I'm telling you, this is my absolute favorite piece this year, I think. I'm loving, loving, loving this. So this is what it looks like, all put together with some flowers on it. And once, like I said, I love it. And you can do, you can decorate it however you want to. And then this is the inspiration piece. And like I said, it's not exact, but this is what I was going for. So for today, I wanted to talk about the challenge. I am part of Heidi Sonboul's DIY challenge. And if you haven't checked her channel out, please be sure to do that. I will include her channel in the description box along with the playlist. So definitely go check out the playlist. Check out her channel. There's going to be some amazing, amazing inspiration, definitely. So for my next DIY, I'm going to be using these little milk bottle vases from the Dollar Tree. I took them outside and I spray painted them white just because the weather's been kind of crazy. So I took advantage of the warm day that we had, and I spray painted and painted a bunch of items that I needed spray painted. I'm also going to be using this little picture frame. It was messed up when I got it, so I'm just going to take off the rest of the letters, although that's not necessary because you're not going to see them anyway. I'll be using some Jenga blocks, and I'll be using these letters from these poster board letters, but you can use anything if you have good handwriting, any stencils, your Cricut, anything. So first thing I'm going to do is pull off that little sawtooth hanger thingy. And I was going to pull off the paper, but again, it's not necessary. So I just wanted to flip it over so that the bottom is now the top, I guess. And then I put it back in there. And I'm going to have to change this up a little bit later. But for now, this is going to work out. This will be fine. So then once I'm done doing that, I'm going to take my DIY chalk paint. And I'm just going to give this a quick dry coat. This is also an inspired piece. And the inspired piece was not this weird color, so I went ahead and dry brushed it so that it looked more like the inspired piece, and I like the way that the dry brush looks. And I didn't want to, have to go through like the whole painting it one color and then dry brushing it with wood, I didn't want to do all that. This looked perfect. And I just kind of touched the inside of it just so it didn't pop out as much. But, completely up to you. You can paint the whole thing. You can leave it alone. You can do whatever you want. So then, once I am done dry brushing this, I'm going to take the Jenga pieces. And I'm going to start off with 8 of them. And I'm going to do 4 and 4. So you're just going to take 4 pieces and glue them together side by side. And then you're going to do that again for another 4. But a little later, you're going to notice that I need to make 2 more of these. But to start off, we just went and did that. And I guess I missed one of the sides there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these 4 Jenga pieces on one side and on either side. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I want the 2 outside bottles to be a little bit higher than the 2 middle bottles. And so yeah, that's how I decided to do that. Then I'm going to take some black paint and a little makeup sponge brush again, and I'm going to go along the rim of the bottle. Now the inspired piece doesn't have it completely blacked out like this, but I kind of liked how it popped, so I went ahead and did the whole thing rather than just, in the inspiration piece, it's just a little bit of black up there. I like how this black ring looked on there, so I went ahead and I did that to all four of the bottles. Like I said, I like the way that it looked completely black as opposed to the way that the inspiration piece had it. But personal preference, you can leave it all white, you can do whatever you want. So then I'm going to take my poster board letters, and I'm going to take the letters that spell out milk. You can do whatever you want, home, farm, whatever. If your last name happens to have 4 letters, you can do that too. So I'm just going to go ahead, spell out milk. And then once I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and arrange them into the little picture frame, which is now like a little crate. And I was looking at it and I just didn't think it looked like the inspired piece, and I didn't really like the way it looked. So what I did was I turned the frame around and I released little prongs that are on there, and then I had these scrap popsicle sticks. These are the really jumbo big ones from Walmart, and I just took a few pieces that I had, like I said, already cut up, and I glued them to the bottom so that how do I explain it? So that bottom piece of the picture kind of falls all the way down as opposed to stopping where the prongs kind of hold it in place, if that makes sense. You'll see. So once I flip it over, there's more space there. So that thing drops all the way down, and then I'm able to kind of give it a little bit more height where I want it, so that those 2 bottles in the middle are a little bit lower. And then I still didn't like it. So I ended up getting 8 more Jenga pieces, gluing 4 and 4 again. And then I liked how that height was. So then I just went ahead and kind of gave those top ones a little quick dry brush, nothing, spectacular. Just like I said, so it kind of blends in with the frame a little bit more and doesn't like stick out. So once I'm done dry brushing them, I'm going to hot glue them on top of the other Jenga blocks. And then, then I'm just going to arrange my bottles the way that I want them on there. And this one is done. I mean, what's that? $5, maybe $6. And you have a cute little centerpiece or whatever. You can put flowers in there. And this is the inspiration piece, $58. No. So then for DIY number 3, this is it looks like a cutting board. I really don't know what it was because it looks like there was something on the back, or I guess this used to be the front. I'm just going to flip it over and I'm going to use the back part of it. And I'm going to leave the other side kind of unfinished because I may want to use it for something else. I don't know. So then I'm going to take my heat gun because these labels did not want to come off. It looks like this piece was from Marshall's. I think that's what the label said. And Marshall's stickers tend to be really sticky. They're hard to get off. So anyway, so I just went ahead, got my heat gun, got my scraper, and it came off just fine, no problem. So then once I was done doing that, I'm going to kind of give this a quick sand I didn't like how shiny it was. So I was just going to kind of dull it down a little bit with my little hand sander. Then I realized, why not just use my electric hand sander? It'll be a lot easier. So I went ahead, grabbed my electric hand sander, and just went over this, like I said, kind of just to get that, initially I just wanted to get that gloss off of it. But then once I started seeing like the lighter wood kind of showing through, I went ahead and kind of sanded it down just a little bit more. And I did the front and the back, but obviously you don't have to do the back if you don't want to. Then I'm taking my little handy dandy desktop vac. I know everybody else has the Ladybug. I love this one. The Ladybug was a little bit girly for me. So if they would have had a unicorn one, I'd have got the unicorn one. But this one works perfectly and I love it. So I'll include that in my, in my description box. So then I'm just going to go ahead, wipe this clean. And as I'm wiping, I noticed there were just a few spots that still had, a little bit of gloss to them. So I just sanded those down, kind of cleaned it up. Then with my Cricut, I spelled out the word homemade. Now, I don't have a Cricut Joy, so I had to do this in 2 pieces on my Cricut Air Explorer, but it worked out fine because this cutting board's like 16 inches or 18. I can't remember. It's either 16 or 18 inches, so I couldn't print out one whole piece. So then I'm going to go ahead. I'm using transfer. It's not even transfer tape. It's shelf liner from the Dollar Tree and, the vinyl. This is regular Cricut vinyl. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on there. And this is yet another inspired piece. And it's really, really simple. And I love it. It's perfect. And I've had this little cutting board piece for a while. Like I said, I got it at Goodwill and it was on a 75% off day. So I think I paid 50 cents or whatever it was for it. And like I said, I've had it forever. So I have an alternative. If you do not have a cutting board like that, you're going to need 3 painter sticks. Now, I only had the one, so these other 2 pieces are lathe pieces or whatever from Menards. And then I just cut them down. You're going to cut them so that they go right up to where the handle starts. And for the purpose of the video, I'm just using hot glue, and I'm not going to decorate this one. I just wanted to show you guys how you could make the cutting board. But yeah, you can just put them together. You're going to glue them how I'm gluing them here, the 2 sides on opposite sides of the painter stick. That didn't make sense, but you see what I'm doing. So you're just going to glue them together, and then you can kind of sand them down to smooth it out, and then paint them or stain them, or however you want to do it. But guys, that's it. That's as simple as that is. Then you have yourself a little cutting board. You cut drill a hole onto the top, and you've got yourself a template to make this same DIY. So that is it, guys. I appreciate you so much. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like button. Let me know which one is your favorite. And until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye, guys.